Good afternoon, everybody. I'm gonna give it another minute or so here because it looks like we don't have a quorum yet.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Thanks for hopping on, Ian.
Sure. Can you hear me?
I can, thank you. We got looks like we got 4 here, so I'm gonna hold out for a 5th, hopefully.
Hey, Allison, John Hughes is in the meeting, but he's on the
Oh, okay.
the attendees. If you could transfer him onto a panelist, please.
Hi, Dan.
How's it going, Bryn?
Going. How are
Good.
you?
Tired of snow.
Guess who came back in the middle of the night from Bend, Oregon last night, and I picked him up at 3 a.m. at Groom. Not kidding.
Yeah.
Thank you, Allison.
All right.
There he is.
I am going to call this meeting to order. It is 1:02 p.m. on March 2nd. This is the Technical Advisory Committee regular meeting for the Central Yavapai Metropolitan Planning Organization. I believe we are recording, if I heard correctly, and let's go ahead and do a roll call, please, Allison.
Sure. Chairman Cherry,
Present.
Vice Chair Hughes,
Here.
Member Marbury is absent. Member Davidson, absent. Member Mattingly,
Present.
Member Bondoc,
Here.
Member Roth,
Looks like Andy's sound may have dropped off, but he did acknowledge a hello a bit ago. Maybe we'll give him a second here to see if he can reconnect. Oh, and there's Mr. Marbury connecting.
great. Frank,
Good
can you
afternoon,
hear us
Frank.
okay? Okay, and lastly, the Prescott National Forest seat is vacant, but we do have a quorum.
And we have Mr. Davidson on now.
Yep. Hi there.
It sounds like a full house. All right. So we got roll call out of the way. We have our quorum. Thanks to everybody for being here. Allison, would you please go over our Title VI policy and meeting procedures?
Sure. CYMPO complies with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and related non-discrimination statutes and regulations in all programs and activities. Members of the public may review the CYMPO Title VI plan and submit a self-identification survey by accessing the CYMPO website.
All right, very good. I'm going to touch on meeting procedures. I will, as the chair, may or may not allow for public comment on items on the agenda. I may limit the number of speakers. We are going to do a call to the public here momentarily, which is an opportunity for a presentation of comments by the public for items that are not on this agenda. If you wish to speak, we will need to have information provided to CYMPO in regards to your particulars. As we are virtual here, you will need to raise your hand, if you will, via the public attendees, and we would be happy to recognize you. So with that, I'm going to ask if there are any members of the public or anyone that wishes to speak during the call to the public.
Mr. Chair, no hands have been raised.
Understood. I don't see any either. I appreciate that, and looks like we will move forward from there. So thank you, everybody. I'm gonna try to move this thing forward because some of us have budgets due today, so. Item number 4, consideration and possible action to approve the February 2nd, 2023 regular meeting minutes of the Technical Advisory Committee of CYMPO. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes that were provided earlier this week? And if so, do you have any comment or any recommendations for change? If not, I am entertaining a motion for approval.
Move to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from member Davidson. We have a second from member Hughes. Any further comments? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? That passes unanimously. I appreciate everybody. Item number 5, Executive Director's Update. Mr. Gallegos, would you like to enlighten us with your thoughts?
I would love to enlighten you with my thoughts. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the TAC. I'll just be brief, just 2 things. Just a reminder to the group that we do, I did send out an email. The State Transportation Board will be hosted by the town of Prescott Valley for their meeting on Friday, March the 17th, St. Patrick's Day. So hopefully everyone has the opportunity to attend that meeting, as I said in the email, and maybe to the greater public. The State Transportation Board holds their monthly meetings at different locations throughout Arizona in an effort to better engage the local decision makers and the greater public. I will also let you know that this is within their time period of their 5-year program, that as they're looking at making investments throughout Arizona for the state transportation system, they are looking at feedback. I try and attend most of the meetings, and I will say that people do travel and take their 3 minutes, whether they're a mayor, council member, town manager, or staff member, to try and put a plug in for transportation. And then just a reminder that Gary Knight, who sits on our executive board, is the chair of the State Transportation Board. So all that to say, they usually will come to our area probably once every 2 to 3 years. So grateful they scheduled their time with us, and mark your calendar for Friday, March the 17th at 9 a.m. in the town of Prescott Valley auditorium where the council meets. And then my other update for you, we do not have an update from Kevin Adam from RTAC, so I just wanted to pass a little bit of information along as it relates to transportation requests that we've put in. I don't want to say officially, but I do believe that the standalone bills have died in the sense that they were never scheduled time before the deadline. So the bill that Representative Kwan put in for a standalone bill for Glassford, to the best of my knowledge, is dead. And then State Route 89 that Representative Bliss put in is dead. But let's be clear that both of those projects still exist within the overall RTAC bill, which again is House Bill 2543. And keep in mind that that's a statewide package to invest in greater Arizona. And the initial request was $300 million. I believe it has been amended to actually increase the amount. It doesn't impact our area, but I want to be clear that Glassford Hill Road improvements is still in RTAC, the bill, and the State Route 89 is still in the RTAC bill. The only note to offer to everyone here is that because it's not the standalone bill, the RTAC bill, we were capped based upon a population. So we're splitting that request with Greater Arizona, so the other MPOs and COGs. So it's going to be a few $1 million less on each of those projects than the standalone bill. But again, our delegation has been very engaged, very supportive, very active. I met with Representative Wynn and Bliss a few weeks ago, and they were very gung ho about that. Kevin did send out an email this morning. Hopefully, most of you received it. I do think there's a lot of support for RTAC, but politically, they are running into some real challenges in the last couple of days. So specifically, the Republicans have made it a little more challenging for any bills to be heard that a majority has to sign off on bills, and that's made it a real challenge to the Democrats. And last I heard, they were willing to vote against anything in light of this political maneuver. So all that to say that we did have bipartisan support on this RTAC bill, but with some other political things that are happening, it may impact this conversation directly. So with all that said, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to answer questions and comments.
Thank you, Vinny. Any members have questions or comments for Mr. Gallegos?
Vinny, do we have any active lobbying efforts on that? So is there a statewide transportation team that's trying to navigate that through the legislature? And then could our individual lobbyists like PV, I know Prescott has a lobbyist, could we have them also trying to, lobby for this package?
Absolutely. So, Mr. Chair, Member Davidson, so the answer to your question, if I can, is yes and yes. So the lobbyist that we have is Kevin Adam. He's the executive director, the liaison for Greater Arizona. He's a one staff member team, but he does represent us and he does the lobbying on behalf of CYMPO. With that said, Kevin always welcomes local municipality lobbyists and staff. I do know, and I think Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Board of Supervisors at their meeting yesterday, I believe, discussed this, and they put forward a additional letter of support because anyway, the board office called me for a template letter, which I provided. So I know that was passed, and Gilbert, all hands on deck. So anything we can throw at it to be sure that Glassford and 89 gets approved as part of this, I would highly encourage that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll say, Vinny's right that our Board of Supervisors got an update on this yesterday from Supervisor Craig Brown, and there was a motion made to provide. Craig Brown had encouraged the board to provide some political support for it. The motion was made and passed, so I believe the letter that Vinny refers to is going to be signed by the chair on behalf of the Board of Supervisors as a whole. So that's I encourage the clerk's office to hurry because as we know, things are in a constant state of change down there and at the Capitol. So I would encourage anybody else that has interest to do the same. If you don't have time to get something agendized for, say, a council or whatnot, certainly, I think you can have individual members send letters of support as well if it's not going to a vote or whatnot. So just my 2 cents.
And just a quick clarification, Dan, I should have said this earlier too, that for the most part, it's cleared the House other than the ultimate vote within the House, but it's cleared the various committees, transportation, appropriations. So it's done what it's needed to. It still needs to get the House vote. Like I said before, the last couple of days was looking very positive, and that it would then move over into the Senate. So I guess maybe to tie into Gilbert's point, there's still support that needs to be demonstrated, and most especially when it gets into the Senate, that Senator Bennett and others understand the value and the needs, keeping in mind that Glassford is our #1 project that was listed, and then #2 was State Route 89.
Thank you, Vinny. Any further questions from members or comments? Hearing none, I will move on to item number 6, which is pending project updates with Ms. Lindsay Post. Lindsay, you want to give us a update on all the little things that you got your fingers in?
Sure. I do have lots of little things. So today I am focusing on an update for SR 69 Urbanized Master Corridor Plan. As you probably are aware, CYMPO recently did a tour of all the city councils and the board of supervisors, doing an annual update on what CYMPO is up to. We finished up with our presentation in Dewey Humboldt. I will say that they probably get the award for highest percentage of citizens attending their meetings. That was a packed house, so it was fun to be there. While we were there, though, we realized that it was probably of great value to our efforts and to the residents in Dewey Humboldt and those traveling through to extend and modify our boundaries of the SR 69 Urbanized Master Corridor Plan to include about 2 miles past Mortimer Farms to Main Street in Dewey Humboldt, where the subway and post office are. We worked with Mayor Hughes to understand the need there, and so we're working with our consultant Kittleson and Associates to make that change. So otherwise, Vamshi and his team are continuing their data collection and analysis. Lots of GIS work being done. So we've received, I think, 2 invoices so far. So work continues as that project kicked off late last year. So those are that's my only update that I wanted to share, Mr. Chair. So I welcome any questions if anybody has them.
All right, very good. Any questions, members?
Just wanted to thank them for their excellent presentation at Dewey Humboldt. Thank you guys again so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I concur. It's always a pleasure having CYMPO speak at county board meetings too. So thank you all. Nothing further, huh, Lindsay?
No, that's it for today.
All right, very good. We'll move on to item number 7, transit and mobility update from Ms. Bryn Stotler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the TAC. Good to see you today, virtually, if nothing else. Quick little transit mobility update from the mobility management side of things. It is the grant making cycle for the Section 5310 human services transportation providers in our region. The grant, the NOFA, Notice of Funding Opportunity, is open, and the grant deadline for those human services providers, such as, let me name off a few just to orient you guys: Polara Health, New Horizons, People Who Care, and so forth. So as a part of our mobility management responsibility, CYMPO provides technical support and guidance to the human services transportation providers in the processing and submittal of their grant applications. If they require technical assistance with the grant program and or just provisions of the program or their respective grant requests, we are on call basically to support those activities. So between now and March 21st is kind of a busy time for us with those organizations, and we look forward to assisting them. Quick update on local transit. Yavaline has met with us recently, basically a little strategy meeting. And Pedro, their transit development coordinator at the town of Prescott Valley, gave us yet another stunning update with his ridership numbers, which are just beyond all expectations. One metric I've pointed out repeatedly is the number of rides that are actually being taken for the purpose of getting to and from employment. And that percentage is up to 41% of all rides. So that is literally a stunning number that I don't know that we could have predicted or expected in any situation. So we're super excited about the success of Yavaline, and we are actually in conversation with them about potentially expediting some of their implementation plan just based on their capacity and their need to have additional capital vehicles, essentially, and the expansion of service per the transit implementation plan. So we look forward to continuing those discussions. And in fact, the town of Prescott Valley, if they haven't, I haven't seen any late breaking cancellations, and Gilbert Davidson can maybe help us confirm this or not, but they're having a study session on transit at 3 p.m. today at the town council chambers. Do I have that
Yes.
right, Gilbert?
Yep. We're slated to give an update on where we are with slight little pivot. We're going to be working with taxis, the private sector taxis, and not going to be able to do that. So to Bryn's point, looking at maybe expanding the vehicles that we own and then operate through the contracted vendor. One thing I do want to put out there, again, this is mobility dollars, transit dollars that, we could expand into other areas. Our big challenge, and I want to get Bryn and Vinny and the team thinking about this, we have to think of a long-term funding source, because once the grant dollars are exhausted, I have a great concern that we have a lot of people that are relying on this service. They're very excited about this service. And then if we don't continue the service, we're going to have a lot of upset people. So definitely have to start thinking about how we fund it, have a dedicated funding source for it going forward.
And if I can offer, Mr. Chair, on that point, I appreciate Member Davidson putting that out there. We'll follow up with it. Historically, CYMPO has had those conversations, so we do look forward to picking them up again with very key stakeholders in the community. Historically, we've met again with the hospital, with the community college, Embry-Riddle, a number of key major stakeholders. To that exact point that Gilbert brought up is again, it's critical that we identify a sustainable support for the system for this exact situation. So CYMPO has had positive moments, and we look forward to working with Prescott Valley and again re-engaging those situations. So thank you very much.
All right, Bryn, do you have
Mr. Chair?
anything further?
That is all I had today. So thank you very much.
Very good. Any questions or comments from CYMPO TAC members? Hearing none, I'm going to pause for a moment here. I see that Mr. Rich Kaplan has his hand raised. Allison, you want to see if you can give him an opportunity to inquire about his question or comment or whatever, whether we need to backtrack or something? Mr. Kaplan? Not hearing you, Mr. Kaplan.
You should be unmuted.
Mr. Kaplan, you are permitted to speak.
I see a mute.
So I saw your microphone just went mute. If you're on your phone, that's *6. There you go. Mr. Kaplan, we still don't hear you. I saw that you just muted again, so we'll see if you've tried another method. I remember there was a similar issue last time, a time before, so let's see.
Last time.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Just
Okay.
briefly, going back to your report, Lindsay, on the SR 89 urban corridor plan, do you have any information about when the first public participation in that program will likely occur?
Do you mean the SR 69?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The master corridor plan for 69.
Mr. Kaplan, at this moment, I do not have a date in mind. There will be one public open house meeting. Unfortunately, off the top of my head, sir, I don't know when that would be. To address this, I'll be sure to see if we're going to put that on our website or address you personally. So thank you for the question.
That's fine. And then you didn't mention Sundog in your report, but I was curious, is there any update on when the meeting that was postponed is likely to occur?
Mr. Chair, may I answer?
Absolutely. Please go ahead, Ms. Post.
Sure. So we have just had some more informational meetings with the city of Prescott to be able to allow the consultant to make some final decisions on the drafts that they're putting together. We're still trying to make sure that we've got the right information to move forward. I unfortunately don't have an exact answer. Spring is still when it's scheduled, so
Okay.
unfortunately that's all I have.
I appreciate that, and thanks for indulging me. Thank you very much.
You best.
Thanks, Mr. Kaplan. Well, welcome back to Prescott while it's nice and snowy. Welcome back.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. I appreciate your questions and glad that we could help to get those answered as best as we can. So moving on from transit, unless there's any other comments on transit, item 7, hearing none, I'm going to jump to item number 8, which is review, discussion, and possible action to recommend approval to amend the fiscal year 22-23 Unified Planning Work Program, which I affectionately call the UPWUP. Vinny or Allison, you guys take it away.
Thank you.
Here's
Mr.
Allison.
Chair. Just trying to figure out how to share my screen.
I see it.
Okay, great. Yes, we're seeking amendment to our fiscal year 22-23 work program. And in your packets, we have a step-by-step list of all of the amendments that we're seeking, followed by the work program with highlighted changes so that you can follow as I go through these. I'll just give a brief summary of what we're looking to do. Looking to make some administrative amendments to update our committee roles for the 2023 annual year. And then looking to remove and add some projects. So on page 21, we're looking to remove the social equity analysis project. As we've learned more about what this project or what this is, we now understand that it will be included as a component of future projects rather than its own standalone project. And then also looking to add the, whoops. Sorry, my screen changed.
It did for us too.
Okay. Oh,
Can you see it? It should be mine. It wasn't scrolling, Allison.
oh, that's okay. I'm just going to leave it on the list of projects.
Oh, then I just, took total control. So I'm going to stop and let you go back.
It's all
You
good.
two need to behave, please.
We had a
Step on each
contingency
other's
plan.
toes.
I thought I got the trigger word, but I didn't.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Hang on one second. Okay. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, then we're also looking to add a couple of projects, the boundary expansion evaluation that the executive board approved in January. Also, the regional strategic transportation safety plan that CYMPO is working on in conjunction with Greenlight Traffic Engineering, NACOG, and Metro Plan of Flagstaff. And then lastly, looking to add the environmental assessment of needs project that was introduced to the TAC in February. We'll follow up with a second draft scope at a later meeting. And then all of the listed financial amendments below are just the necessary moves to add and remove these projects. And all of those changes are noted in yellow highlight in the attached work program. I'll stop there and answer any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Allison. Any comments or questions from the TAC? Going once, going twice. All right, Allison, I think you got off easy. Does anybody have a desire for Allison to go individually through things, or you each have this information in your packets if you want to look and ask questions on your own time as well? But I'm happy to indulge a more closer look if you like. All right, hearing none. You need action on this, Mr. Gallegos?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
please.
right, I am looking for a motion, and we do have a motion option in your packet under item number 8.
Chair, I'll make a motion to recommend the executive board approve amending the FY 22-23 Unified Planning Work Program, which I also like saying UPWUP, just because it's fun to say. County visiting.
All right, thank you, Frank.
I'll
We
second
have
that.
a motion. We have a second motion from Mr. Marbury, second from Mr. Hughes. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Allison. I appreciate your time and your input on this. We'll move on to item 9, which is review, discussion, and possible action to recommend approval to amend the fiscal year 22 through fiscal year 26 Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Program, the MTIP. Allison, are you doing this one too?
I am. Thank
All
you,
right.
Mr. Chair. Members of the TAC. So this is our tip, and the amendments we're seeking for this mirror what we are seeking for the work program. So the projects that I listed just on that last item are what we're looking to add and remove for the tip as well. And then making some necessary financial exchanges to be able to make those moves. Just a few things to note. We are adding a couple of projects. We've added the Pioneer Parkway Trailhead project. CYMPO is contributing $184,000 of the newly apportioned carbon reduction program funding. Vinny, did you want to touch on that project at all?
Yes, I can briefly. Thanks, Allison. Mr. Chair, members of the TAC. So I have been working with a few of the members of this, so Dan Chair in particular. The city of Prescott has had a conversation with Yavapai County related to a potential trailhead project off Pioneer Parkway. I believe, if I remember right, Dan, this project was some infrastructure improvements, pavement, restroom at the trailhead, and I thought it was around $750,000 ballpark from the last couple years. With that said, CYMPO has received these carbon reduction funds. It's a new funding source, and we do believe that we would be able to provide some funding towards that Prescott Yavapai County project. Annually, CYMPO receives around $184,000. This particular project would meet the expectation, the eligibility of that. So Dan, if you want to jump in and correct me on some of those details, but we would look to just partner with the county and Prescott on it.
Yeah, so some additional information, the trailhead as currently proposed in, I guess I'd say like a conceptual way, is on the north side of Pioneer Parkway at about mile marker 1. So that is about 1 mile to the east of the Williamson Valley Road Pioneer Parkway intersection. The north side of Pioneer Parkway does not have good access for users of the trail system. And those that are familiar with it probably recognize that the Prescott Circle Trail goes right through that area. So there had been some discussion about trying to improve access to the Prescott Circle Trail and have a trailhead that is on that side of Pioneer Parkway, away from the kind of the Brownlow Trailhead, which is down right in Pioneer Park. The county has approached the city of Prescott about this. Joe Baines with the Prescott Parks Department has been our point of contact on it. He is looking into the possibility of securing some funding through the state park system. I guess they have grant programs that come up on this, and he feels it would be positioned well to try to get some funding through that program, coupling that with this carbon reduction fund program. And then the county is looking at budgeting some funding for like a turn lane improvements on Pioneer Parkway to make it a safe entrance and exit, as well as then we would hope the city would contribute a portion of it to kind of make it a joint project for everyone. So Mr. Baines has had conversations with city management We believe that that conversation has trickled up to mayor and council level for discussions, but we haven't had good feedback as to the level of interest in participating on this, but we do greatly appreciate CYMPO's commitment to put some of this funding from the carbon reduction program forward. We did have about a $750,000 cost estimate that's, I'd say, aged a little bit. Perhaps it's not quite up to snuff with what we saw last year in inflation, but I do think that we're still reasonably well positioned to be able to fund something. It may or may not include restrooms. If funding becomes a problem, it's possible that a restroom would be pushed off into a future phase in order to get the infrastructure on the ground. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions on that item. I realize we've bogged down on that one quite a bit as far as the MTIP goes, but I'll hand it back to you, Allison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Picking up on number 8 of the list, wanted to highlight the congressionally directed spending dollars that CYMPO was awarded. CYMPO is receiving $480,000 to conduct an SR 89A design concept report in fiscal year 24. So those funds will replace the existing STBG dollars that we had programmed for that project, and we'll be able to reprogram that money to move forward the next project in line, excuse me, which is the SR 89 corridor master plan. So we'll be moving that project from fiscal year 26 to fiscal year 25. Also want to note that we've added a new project where we have been placing funds that need to be allocated to projects in the future. So number 10, projects to be determined. We've placed some STBG and CRP funds there to be programmed at a later time. And then moving on to the transit project section of the TIP, since the TAC approved the scope of work for the ACT UP plan, staff has done some additional evaluation and some additional funding is being added to that project, which is noted here. We have funding also being added to the coordinated public transit human services transportation plan. And then lastly, numbers 3 and 4, we are amending our TIP to include the 5310 and 5311 FTA awards that human service providers are awarded within the CYMPO region. And that's a requirement as the MPO to include that in our TIP. And then the pages following that are all of these amendments highlighted in the actual TIP for your review as well. But I'll leave that here and answer any questions if anyone has any.
All right, thank you, Allison. Any comments or questions from members? All right, nice job once again. I like the kind of synopsis page on this that you do for these to kind of hit on the highlights rather than scrolling through the entire document. That makes it easier for us.
Yeah, sure.
Anything further on that item? If not, I will make a motion to recommend the executive board approve amending the FY 22 through 26 CYMPO MTIP as presented here.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. I have a second on that. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes unanimously. I appreciate it very much. All right. Item number 10, review and discussion of the draft fiscal year 24 through 25 Unified Planning Work Program. This would be the next up on the list. Allison, you want to hit on that a little bit for us? Or are you going to let Vinny do this one?
This is all Vinny.
All right, Vinny, hit us.
Allison has given me the privilege to walk through this with you. So let me just, and it looks like the scrolling's fine, but if it becomes an issue, I'll just reference what's already in your packet. So again, this is the proposed unified planning work program and budget. Just to a general audience, this is a federal requirement of all MPOs that we put together a narrative and a budget accounting for what we intend to do for the next 2 years. As you all have experience in the last couple agenda items, these frequently get amended for all sorts of reasons. They can be amended for reasons such as board members change, elections happen, staff members, TAC changes, numbers, as Allison just walked you through. So again, we do frequently amend these work programs. A few years ago, we were approved along with other MPOs in Arizona to go to a 2-year work program, which we're incredibly grateful for because it is a document that puts a lot of staff time and energy into it. So having it be able to last at least 2 years is a fortunate thing. As you can see, what's highlighted on the cover page, it is our intent with your cooperation to have you look at this draft today. It'll come back to you at your May 4th meeting with the intent that we would have given opportunity for any additional feedback, and that you would be able to recommend that on to the executive board for final approval at their May 17th meeting. As we're going through this draft, it'll also be our intent to go through this draft with the executive board. So if you can go on to the next page, please. We'll scroll, and again, if you're watching this, forgive your eyes of scrolling a bunch, but just a basic lead in. This section 1 has remained fairly standard the last couple of years. I'm not going to exhaustively go through this. It'll be available on the website, but it's all the typical stuff of vision, mission, introduction. You can keep going. Again, our boundary map, it is what it is for today. So keep going. This is where you'll start to see explanation of, again, the organization, the staff as we have. The organization chart will be on the next page, and then keep going. You'll have the executive board on page 48 of the packet. The executive board, the TAC, the EMAC, again, we're pretty familiar with it, very standard. Keep going. Section 3, again, hasn't much changed at all. It's, again, an overview of the various funding or types of funding that CYMPO receives of federal funds. If anyone wants a better understanding of the various funds, you can look at it. Clearly, we use acronyms all the time. Allison used STBG regularly on the last thing. But again, we have other acronym fundings that we work with, like SPR, PL, CPG, and so forth. But anyone that wants a deeper look at what those funds are and what they entail, by all means, they're available for you. So go on to the next page, please. We identify our carry forward funds. Clearly, please note, it's still pretty early on. So I guess more for a placeholder than anything. Allison put 0. It never ends up being 0. As any of you know, in your budgets and municipalities, nothing ends the year fully clean and fully balanced. So Allison did put in the placeholder, and as it gets closer, she will populate those, especially with the executive board meeting when they finally approve it. Even that will still have an estimate, and it won't be until after the fiscal year has been reconciled that Allison will bring back the final numbers to you all. Next page. This is a new layout. It's not new information, if you will, but Allison, in previous years, we had the table turned the other way, and our big achievement was we don't want you to turn your head. So it's all on this one page and this format. The information, though, does give you a layout for fiscal year 24. You can see, again, the overall funding. Come to the second half of that page, Allison, please. So just maybe a little bit more trivia, again, for all of our local public agencies. We're using the numbers that we've received based on the 2020 census. So again, the CYMPO region has 143,182. The way that we operate is we then, as it relates to the match, we're projecting a match going into this next year of around $162,000. Each of you are accountable in our agreement to that match, and it's based again upon the population. Probably one major noteworthy of this, when you look at Yavapai County and their match, like, I guess, let me make one generic statement for all of you. Typically, the match in past years is addressed through your time. It can either be addressed in the in-kind or the hard match. We've been incredibly successful because of your participation through the TAC, through your staff participation and elected officials, that Allison on a regular basis sends you a timesheet that you all sign off to and put down the amount of hours that you've contributed towards TAC meetings, board meetings, any project meetings. All of that gets documented, and you basically reduce your responsibility. Where I was going with Yavapai County is they do take on additional match responsibilities. I shouldn't say additional responsibilities. They are able to address a greater match because we do have a additional agreement with Yavapai County for additional services, such as facilities, IT, human resources, other services that are in that, and they're able to also use that towards the match. So it's very much a benefit. So just that gives an overview. Next page, because it is a 2-year work program. So you just looked at fiscal year 25, I'm sorry, 24, and then this is 25. And then let's go on to the next page, page 15 of the work program, which you're on. Again, there's a lot of information here. It's in your packet. It'll be posted on the website. If there's additional questions or comments, happy to take them. So I am going to briefly go through this, even though there is a great deal of information. Nothing, I would say, too radical. It's very much in line with what we've been doing for the last many years. What you're going to find in section 100 is the day-to-day operations, if you will, the staff, the administration, the operations of the MPO, travel, engagement. What I would try and explain in this presentation is what Federal Highways and ADOT, who administers much of the funding, what they look for is in the monies we receive, how are they accounted for? Ultimately, everything we do, we send in to be reimbursed for this, and they look to see if an item that we're submitting for reimbursement is covered in this. So again, we're constantly trying to capture what the next 2 years looks like, somewhat generically at times, but then also we get into specific projects. So I don't need to go too deep into section 100. Let's go to work element 200, regional planning projects. This is probably where this TAC committee and we get into more of the specifics on a regular basis. When Lindsay earlier talked about State Route 69 and Mr. Kaplan asked about Sundog. So these are the projects, and then Allison referenced State Route 89A design concept report. So this is where you're going to see those specific projects identified, listed, lots of verb use of complete, initiate, develop, those type of things. So I don't know that we're proposing anything that hasn't really been discussed in here that I'm aware of. As I look at page 17, we're also required to identify accomplishments. So we do identify things that we have completed, and I'm just glancing at it, things like the regional transportation plan, things like the adaptive traffic signals, things like that. Next page, top of the half, number 201. Again, crash data analysis. This was our HSIP process with Greenlight Traffic Engineering. When that call for projects comes up again, we hope to again pursue, as we were successful this last year with using $20,000 to bring in several $million. Scroll to the bottom of that page, public engagement and education. This is our safe driving campaign. We are again renewed for this year with the executive board's approval. We'll be releasing a new safe driving commercial that we just filmed with County Supervisor Craig Brown. So that'll be being debuted very soon. Next page, page 19 of the work program. Work element is transit multimodal. Again, know that Bryn is covering these in her updates. We hope that, and again, not going through this, but we hope this serves as an umbrella of the work that CYMPO is doing in this area, in particular, Bryn is doing. So in many of these bullet points, you're going to hear things, see things that Bryn has already referenced, such as the local coordination committee, and I work with that. We serve in our role as the MPO, we serve as a steward of federal resources that come into the region. So it is a requirement, using New Horizons as an example, as they apply for federal funds to buy a vehicle, or Yavapai Regional Transit, same thing, if they buy a vehicle or use dollars for operation, it's part of their agreement that they work with the MPO in an effort to coordinate. And that's, again, one of CYMPO staff, Bryn in particular, one of her main roles is to help facilitate those conversations and look for opportunities of coordination and cooperation. Next page, you're going to see what we've already been talked about, what we've talked about moving forward, things such as the active transportation plan, or what we're calling it the ACT UP. And then next page is page 21, which is what Bryn was talking about earlier and Gilbert was talking about earlier with the town of Prescott Valley. Because the town of Prescott Valley is the direct recipient of federal funds, again, this document exists to also provide additional oversight of those funds. So we have worked with Gilbert and town staff to ensure that the federal funds that have already been distributed are accounted for, and then moving forward, what is the projected use of that? So when you look through this, you're going to see that the $3.5 million of CARES Act funds to Prescott and Prescott Valley are accounted for in this, and that moving forward, you're also going to see the funds. And again, you're going to see both the narrative and the dollar amount. The next page, at the top of the next page, you'll see again the use of some of those funds, the intended use, and as Pedro, the transit manager, and others make adjustments, we'll make adjustments and amendments within this. Page 22 is the environmental part, which we've already talked about briefly in this meeting, that part of this is the carbon reduction program, a new program that is in this federal transportation bill. We mentioned it earlier, just one project that Dan and I had mentioned earlier. We also will circle back with you, as we've already talked about, doing an environmental plan, also a strategy to support the EMAC efforts. Part of that environmental plan will provide projects and a priority list for the work that EMAC does on behalf of the TAC, so that'll be part of those funds. And then just in closing is, again, another budget table. The last couple pages are a budget table. I will wrap up there, and you can take it off the screen for me at this point. I would wrap it up with, I think my only question to you all is a TAC, and then I'm happy to take questions and comments. You know, as we evaluate the next 2 years through the work program, and as we evaluate the next 5 years through our transportation improvement program, my role, as you all know, as staff, is to work with you and then to make recommendations onto the executive board. And we're a very active planning organization, as you can hear from the updates. So I'm constantly offering ideas to you as to what might be a different approach. Typically through the strategic planning retreat, this might be a better discussion, but because we're looking at the 2-year work program, I do want to pose one question. The question is, if CYMPO were to have an additional position, specifically as it relates to grant management, grant writing, specifically for transportation, I am curious, a little bit from a brainstorming standpoint, if that would be a value added to CYMPO, most especially to you all. I'm coming to this because we're, as you all are, there's lots of opportunities for transportation funding. One project we did take on that we're doing on your behalf is we did just recently hire a consultant to help you evaluate transportation projects, which Kittleson is doing for you. You all have submitted 3 or 4 projects. We're looking at them. We're developing a report, and we're saying, based on your suggestions, here are the grants that are going to fit those projects. And we're trying to get you, I guess the answer would be grant prepped, grant ready, but it turns it back over to you. When I look at what is being introduced by ADOT, Federal Highway, Federal Transit Administration, there's more opportunities than I think we, CYMPO, is able to respond to. If I understand each of the cities, the towns, and the county, you do not necessarily have on staff that grant type of position. So I feel we're at a place where we're continuing to generate a wealth of planning in the form of paper, which is valuable. Often that paper leads to results as you look at design concept reports, as you look at master corridor plans. So of course, an option is CYMPO continue the work we're doing by all means, but a possible modification would be, what would it look like if we had an additional position that was dedicated to the region for grant writing, grant management, specifically for transportation? Again, if you look at our current agreement, our current partnership, right now you would have full access to that. As we have full access in our partnerships, we look to your staff to help us deliver projects. So in closing, what I would say is it would reduce slightly some of the paper planning we do in the form of a person that would then help us to achieve what's already in paper. So at this point, it's an idea. If there's a general interest and support, I would go ahead and offer a little bullet point or 2 to this effort. I would continue the discussion with each of you what that might look like. And then I would ultimately take that on to the executive board for continued conversation, knowing that we would have the next couple months to go back and forth, but I do see an opportunity there. So Mr. Chair, with that said, I would like to have some dialogue on what that might look like for you all, and then I'm happy to answer your questions and comments.
Thank you, Vinny. I'll start off with some of my thoughts in regards to a grant-focused position. Yavapai County has typically tried to chase money when we're given the opportunity. Oftentimes that is with consultant help. We feel that puts us in a better position to be competitive. But sometimes we do have to, hurry some things up with regards to something that has a short lead time. For example, I assume other agencies here may have received the latest round of congressionally directed spending opportunities through Senator Kelly's office, and we've got 2 weeks to do something and get something together. And so we've been quickly brainstorming internally to try to, settle on something that we might want to put in for an ask. And it's it has a scrambling, and of course it all comes on top of when our budget proposals are due as well to the county leadership. So where I'm going with this is there can be feast or famine at times as well. And my worry is that if you have one specific person, they may be overwhelmed at times trying to get things done, and other times it could be very quiet. And so is there recognition of that by all member agencies? If it's something that each of us can tap into, knowing that there may be times in which it's not humanly possible for one person to pick up all the opportunities and get something out there or not. We're going to try to do something with internal staff to go after some of this congressionally directed spending, but it doesn't really put us in a great position for putting together a high quality application. We're just hoping that we got something that's hitting, the right check boxes, if you will, for going into a evaluation and review process with the senator's office and staff. So secondly is, we do use like Greenlight. There's opportunity for that we're currently doing through a consultant here at CYMPO. County, jumped onto that. It piggybacked a little bit, if you will. It wasn't a formal piggyback clause kind of contract, but we certainly reached out to Greenlight and asked them to put in some HSIP projects that were outside CYMPO boundaries for ourselves, and they were also hugely rewarded with successful projects. So, we're covering that ourselves, with our own funding. I don't want to duplicate efforts if I can avoid it. And so that's kind of my 2 cents. I'm not against it, but I also worry that it may be overwhelming for one individual at a time, and maybe we're better off trying to pick and choose some, opportunities and have small contracts in lieu of a full-time staff member. So just playing devil's advocate here. With that, I'll open it up for other members to weigh in and give thoughts or questions.
And if I can, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, just real quickly, and then let the other TAC members. I think you illustrate a great point. In all honesty, CYMPO is already serving this role as you just described it yourself. And I think it's critically important that you understand that. It would be a great example would be HSIP. CYMPO hired a consultant on each of your behalf. What ended up happening, we'll use Prescott as an example, is we did all the groundwork for them to get a $1 million funding grant award for a traffic signal. So we did the preliminary work, we did the application through the consultant. So in all honesty, we did it in that one project. Another one would be the active transportation plan. On your behalf, CYMPO applied for a grant. We were awarded monies in order to do a bicycle pedestrian plan, and we're now moving forward with that. So in a lot of ways, like you already illustrated it, Dan, we're doing it. This would be the question to you is do we want to kick that up a notch? And I do appreciate the feast or famine example. Looking at least what I've seen in my time at CYMPO, there's just more opportunities than we can chase. So, do you want us to do more of that in order to deliver implementation? But I just wanted to add that.
And you guys successfully chased the congressionally directed spending funding as well.
Yeah.
Another good example of it. So, I agree. Kicking it up a notch is definitely what we're talking about here. And is there a palette for that from member agencies? If, it takes away a chunk of money that we currently use for other efforts, primarily planning studies and things like that. So do members see a benefit in putting grant chasing over not all planning, but some planning, I guess. John, you have your hand up. What would you like to share with us?
Yeah, it's going to be, I'm for it. For example, our town doesn't have a grant writer, and any of our infrastructure roads or whatever would be a great opportunity for someone to foresee the smaller communities being able to address that. But on the same side, I feel the same way, Dan. It would be a tough challenge to compete with some of those grants. But I think hopefully we can find a grant writer that could help with some other activities inside CYMPO to address it. But just from my standpoint as our little town, if we had a grant writer that was doing it, he would be busy, but yet there would be some times where he would be in a lull for himself. And I'm kind of looking at it as that simple scenario, but we, at the same time, we are missing the boat on some of these things just because we don't have eyes on that 24 hours a day. Just thank gosh that, you know, for example, the 2-week turnaround for Kelly's stuff, if we'd had a grant writer, he might have been aware of some of them things coming down the turnpike. So just, I'm for it, but I'm with Dan that he might be twiddling his thumbs at times, and he might be on the fire in the hot seat sometimes. So we got to kind of weigh those options. But you know, feasibility wise, maybe you can give us a little bit better idea, Vinny, on what it's going to cost, and from our planning standpoint, what we paid in the past to try to get some of these grants. You know, just a cost evaluation on that person for a period of a year or two, and then that way we would know. But you know, 1 or 2 grants would pay his wages. I understand that point of it too, compared to some of our other engineering firms doing it for us.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Mayor, you use a great point. Absolutely, we'll follow up on that. I wanted to maybe test the waters today, and we'll continue the conversation if there's more. But to John's comment, absolutely, we'll give some more. What I would say, my initial thought is, because of what you've said, I've been thinking the same, is they would not be solely dedicated to that. It would be I don't even know, like an office manager / grants manager, in order to better support Allison, who has been kind of tugging on me the last couple of years. The more we take on, the more duties she has. So she could definitely use some additional service, some additional support. And we all know the work that she does. So if there is downtime, by all means, that's going to be absorbed into the work and the backlog that the administrative part of the staff does. And so yes, we would be fully aware of it, and I can report back also on that. So thank you.
Thank you, Vinny. I just wanted to say one other thing. I think it's a great vision, Vinny, of you doing that, to try to incorporate a little bit more of the CYMPO organization by looking into the future and trying to get us more monies in different spots. So kudos to you for thinking the way you're thinking, and I'm for it. I'd like to see a little more evaluation on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I just know we're creating a lot of paper for yourselves, and at some point we want to help you deliver that paper. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, good point there, Vinny. Any thoughts from other members? All right. Well, thank you for that. Vinny, anything further on that item?
No, so that would be, again, the draft presentation for the work program for the next 2 years. So at this point, we're just looking for a recommendation to go on to the executive board, and we'll basically do a similar presentation that we did today with them for their feedback.
Do you need action on that? It wasn't really clear on the packet that you necessarily did.
The answer to that is, it looks like
Says no action needed at this time.
No.
Allison,
No
she
action.
can, so
All right, so
Touche.
we're good to go.
all right.
We
very
got
good.
what we need.
Yeah, feel free to approach executive board members with this information. And I believe you're planning on bringing it back in May for a formal recommendation of approval. So,
Yep.
All right. Moving on to item 11. Gilbert, you doing okay on time?
I'm doing okay. I'll have to leave in a little bit just to get ready for council, but
I
I'm doing okay.
understand.
Thank you.
Before we lose you, is there anything you need to talk to us about before I move on to the next item, in case you got to drop off?
No, I'm good. I think we've got a lot of good things going on.
Okay.
Excited to have our item tonight with CYMPO, our partnership on the grant. And so, yeah, things are looking good.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on to item 11, ADOT data and analytics presentation. Lindsay, you've got your name on this, but we also have Sanja and Sage from ADOT. I'm going to let you kick us off, Lindsay, and you can introduce people if you like, or
Sure.
however you prefer. So thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I would like to introduce a group from the transportation analysis section within ADOT MPD. For a second, we did have Sonia Kadik Jahar, but it looks like she had to leave. So just so that you're aware, Sonia is the local government liaison in the traffic monitoring group at ADOT MPD. So we can look forward to seeing her a lot more at our TAC meetings. And Sage Donaldson is from the Data Analysis and Highway Performance Monitoring System group, as is Lucas Murray, who is here today. And I'm sorry, Lucas, you for some reason didn't get billing, but you are here and thank you so much. We just got Sonia back. So Sonia, thank you for joining. I was just introducing you as the local government liaison within the traffic monitoring section. So I also wanted to let everybody know that Vinny and I attended a workshop with Sage actually at the ADOT headquarters here in Phoenix. It was the Roadway Data Improvement Program workshop. So you can anticipate hearing a lot more from this group, I assume, as we start to work a little bit more closely with them. So when you do things like update your traffic counts, this group would be some of the folks who have their hands on that data and help us update that in the system. So with that, I'd like to introduce Sonia or Sage or Lucas. I'm not sure how you guys would like to kick this off, but you should have full capability to share a screen if you need to. And I'd like to thank you for coming. Sonia, I was mentioning that we can expect to see a lot more from you, especially when our region has so many state-owned facilities. I think it's great that you've already let us know that you anticipate being in our TAC meetings a lot more. So we're excited to have you.
Thank you for the introduction. Presentation will be very brief, and Lucas will share the slides. And while he's pulling up the slides, I just want to take a moment again to thank Mr. Chair and Lindsay, and of course, Allison and everyone else, Vinny, for having us here. And yes, the intent is to be around a little more frequent than perhaps in the past. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we'll table that one. But we do appreciate your continued cooperation and partnership, not only with CYMPO, but all member agencies within when it comes to involvement with HPMS data coordination. And not only this previous calendar, or should I say collection year, but we're looking forward to working and continuing to engage and partner on data coordination, HPMS traffic data coordination in the years to come. And benefits can be mutual and will be mutual. We'll better your traffic counting programs, we'll get traffic data more timely, the quality data will increase, the continuation of funds will come into place, and everything is good, right? Next slide, please. The improvements are visible. On the right-hand side, you see I had pulled data from June of 2022. And that's a mid-collection year, right? And then I pulled some data in January of this year, and it speaks volumes. You see that there's an improvement in current counts, which is darker blue. And then you see that there is a decrease, if you will, of counts that are missing, which are represented with the great portion of the charts. So improvements are noted and greatly appreciated. And as everywhere else, we're all work in progress. There's an opportunity to make it better. And that's why we're here coordinating and cooperating, partnering, presenting, giving you or providing you with our tools to benefit you. And we promise to be there whenever you need help, assistance, training, you have questions, or anything for that matter. When we see counts missing, our first thought is there's probably newly added functionally classified roads, right? Or counts collected but not shared. And that's very frequently and the most common reason for counts missing. Someone's collecting them, they're sitting somewhere, they're just not being shared. Or even traffic sections that have otherwise not been counted or are not current. On the left-hand side of the screen, I just wanted to recognize we've been working with Jonathan David and David Bond with the Yavapai County this past collection year, even though it was a while ago, but still the work coordination was done. We worked with Scott Balk in Chino Valley. Prescott Valley, I visited their website and I've seen that the last, and I've also logged into MS2. I've seen that the last login in MS2 was back in 2017. So if there's anyone from Prescott on the call, do let us know if you need any assistance with either uploading or just reach out to us if you need us. AZ traffic data, all one word, AZ traffic data at azdot.gov is an email address, and I'll show it in the next screen. If you're using contractors, it does not matter which contractor you're using. If you have your contractor collecting your counts, we suggest reaching out to us as we have a draft contract language that calls for not only collection of traffic counts, but also uploading or sharing those counts in MS2. Because collection is simply put halfway there, if you will. So if you can sit down and see where you are with a contract, if you can amend your contract, we suggest you do that. Or if you're ready to put a new contract out on the street, we would suggest you reach out and to us, and we'll provide that contract language to you. It works for us. There's a lot of links here. One that I want to draw attention to is the one that I'm going to, my colleagues, Sage Arnoldson and Lucas Murray, will get to here in a minute. And it is the new link and a new look of a traffic data status map, which is third link on the left-hand side. If you have new staff and you need them to log into MS2 and do work in MS2, please do reach out to me, again, AZ Traffic Data, with the first and the last name and an email, and it's very easy to set them up. And the other links on this screen just represent a lot of helpful documents, information that we house on our data analytics website. The technical documents and non-technical documents. I wanted to provide that to you and draw your attention to it. Last but not the least, I was mentioning information about your traffic program. If you do have your new collection year 23 schedules, if you would please utilize the second link, so second bullet link there is an experience builder app, also called traffic count coordination app, where you can attach that schedule. And also, while you're attaching that schedule, let us know who your point of contact is for traffic related requests and questions, and communicate with us again. My email address is there, but I really more often and the most often utilize the AZ Traffic Data email box. Last but not the least, you have been, some of you have been hearing from me via email or otherwise, conducting what's called intersection sensor inventory survey. And the purpose of that is to better support emerging data trends and offer support integrating that data to MS2, not only TCDS, but traffic movement count module. And ADOT does offer help in integrating that data. So if you reach out to us and you need that data collected via those intersection cameras integrated into MS2 TMC module, please do let us know and we'll help out. With that said, I want to turn it over to my colleagues, Sage Donaldson and Lucas Murray. And if I have no questions.
Any questions from any members? Thank you, Sonia.
Of course.
I know at the county, you mentioned John David in our office. He is still probably your primary point of contact for getting our traffic data that we collect regularly.
Good.
So if you would like to reach out to him, he's out of the office this week, but it sounds like, you know, we have been kind of keeping up on things, but you know, it's not like we necessarily have a season where we try to collect data. It kind of gets spread out throughout the year. So
Throughout the year.
you may only do things, you know, once a year or something like that, as far as assisting to get that information uploaded. But we do find value in this, and I encourage other members in the CYMPO area to take part in this, because it does help not only each of you for planning in the future, but help CYMPO because our consultants use this data regularly as well. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, Sage and Lucas, take it away.
Lucas, if you're talking, you're muted. But I guess as he's starting here, my name is Sage Donaldson. I know most of you. But Lucas is going to show a few applications here. This is the statewide last count date status map. And then he's also going to show an enhancement on the MS2 TCDS portal. If anyone needs access to that portal, please reach out to Sonia. We found a few people that we thought were missing when Lindsay and I were in the office yesterday. So, you know, just let us know if you're having any problems getting into that.
All right, can you hear me now? All right.
Yes, we can, yeah.
Okay, I apologize about that, everyone.
No problem.
So yeah, what I wanted to point out was a couple of the resources that Sonia had pointed out during her talk. The gap map, or the traffic count status map that we have here, we're actually sending out a new web link. It's still the same map for anybody who's seen the previous version, but this map does provide quick information about the traffic count status, any counts that might be missing, where those roads are, that kind of information. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I did want to point out that this is a new URL, and I'll go ahead and post it here for everybody. The main difference with this new website is, in addition to the count status map, we do have a story map that just kind of goes into a broad overview about traffic counting, why it's important to us, how we report it, that kind of information. And we also have several links to different ways to be able to upload some data into MS2, depending on the traffic counting system that you're using. So these are resources that are available to you. Once again, if you have any questions, we would like you to contact us. We don't want to stop that, but we wanted to at least give you some additional resources just in case. The other point that I just wanted to point out before continuing on is in the MS2 portal. So this is CYMPO's ms2soft.com portal that I'll go ahead and post a link in here for you as well. From here, if you click on the TCDS link, this will take you to the map to show you the traffic count stations for CYMPO. Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. You are certainly feel free to contact Sonia if you'd like a deeper level demonstration on any of this. But we do want to point out some kind of hidden tools that are available in the upper right corner of the map. If I click on this plus sign and click on ADOT, there are a few layers that I can add to this map, including traffic sections, as well as their endpoints. This is the exact same information that's coming in from the gap map. So you're going to be able to see the red indicates if the volume count is missing. Blue means that we're getting counts for those. If you click on the plus sign next to traffic sections, it will define those colors for you. But with this, you can actually see where those roads are in relation to the traffic counters themselves. So this information is available in the MS2 software currently, if that's going to be useful to you. So very quickly, before I change gears here, are there any questions for any of us about these resources? All right, hearing none, I'm going to continue on. So I'm going to switch gears here and start talking about certified public mileage. Just to make sure, I'm sure many of you are already familiar with this, but just in case, I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Certified public mileage is the sum total mileage of all the public roads in the state. In order to qualify as CPM, a road has to be publicly accessible. It can't be gated like you see here in the lower corner. It can't be some administrative or service road. It also has to be passable with a standard passenger car, so like a Honda Civic or something like that. So pretty like dirt roads and such typically are not counted towards CPM in that case. BIA roads and even some private roads are counted towards CPM in very certain cases. And the reason why this number is so important is because it does influence our federal funding. So we want to make sure our CPM is as accurate as it can be. And this is where we wanted to be able to show that, and I apologize, this was an old slide, I forgot to update it, but the numbers are correct that CPM has increased in 2021. So between 2020 and 2021, our CPM actually went up 7,578 miles. That was a pretty significant increase, and it wasn't because we added that many more roads to the state during that time. It was because our GIS data, which we refer to as Arnold here, led to more accurate CPM values, and that was because of feedback that we received from agencies like yours. The way we do have a tool that allows you to provide input to us about CPM information. We call it our AZGEO We Love Your Input tool. And I'll be doing a quick demonstration here in a second. But through this web tool, you can log in to view and approve your agency's CPM. You can even let us know about any changes, not just to CPM, but also ownership and maintainership. And this is a link to an overview of how to use the tool. You can also feel free to contact myself if you want a demonstration or any instruction on how to use the tool. But for a quick demo, I've gone ahead and opened up the AZGEO site. The site does require a login in order to access. The login is completely free, and it's very easy to get to. In that instruction manual that I sent a link for, there is instructions on how to request a login. But from this tool, I'm zoomed into the Prescott Valley. If, let's say, I just want to simply review my CPM and see what it looks like, I can click on this agency summary tab, and from the drop down, pick on an agency. I'm just going to choose Chino Valley because they're right there. And if I click on load agency streets, it will give me some information about the CPM mileage, including the CPM broken out by functional class, as well as a total CPM. In this case, it's around 173 miles. If this looks correct, I can click this approved mileage for Chino Valley, and it'll notify us at ADOT that you've reviewed this number and you feel like it's good enough to report. You can also click this download data button and get a detailed list in a CSV document of all the roads that are under Chino Valley's ownership, along with all their information, whether they're being counted towards CPM or not, if you're more comfortable working in a spreadsheet. You also have the option of notifying us about changes. So if I click on any of these roads, over here, you'll notice this suggest a change button next to the road. And when I click that, the first thing it's going to do is go out and find out if anybody else has already suggested a change. If none, it'll come back. It should come back and say, no, you're good to go forward. So no, there's no existing request. Great. I'll go ahead and make a new one. And now with this screen, it's going to step you through several steps here to help you along with the process of suggesting a change. The first one is just making sure you're on the right road. If I click next, I can now pick a new owner. From a drop-down list, I can change the maintainer, and most importantly down here is whether the road should be counted as CPM or not. I can check it on for yes or off for no. Step 3 just allows me to upload justification files in PDF or Word or something like that. And then on step 4, I've got a list of people here. So if I click this Save and Notify button, everybody in this list is going to get an email notifying them about this potential change. And it's these people who will then review that. And if it's approved, then we'll make it official then. I'll go and cancel out of that because I don't want to make a change. So to wrap up, just a few important takeaways. The first thing is, as Sonia was talking about, with the traffic count status map, it does allow you to look for any roads that are missing counts or maybe out of date. If you have any current counting traffic counts, please upload them to MS2. And feel free to do that anytime during the calendar year. We have a link to your MS2 website here. CPM has increased overall for the state. Because it affects funding, we want to make sure it's as accurate as possible. So anytime that you can, if you would please go in and review your CPM for your agency. And if it looks correct, please let us know. And if it doesn't, please let us know where we need to update our records. And then finally, once again, if you have any questions about CPM, roadway ownership, using the We Love Your Input tool, feel free to contact myself. If you have any traffic related questions or want help with MS2, please contact Sonia at the AZ Traffic Data email address listed here. And thank you very much, everyone, for your time on this presentation.
Thank you, Lucas. I appreciate that. Some initial thoughts. I was wondering if you could provide this slideshow to CYMPO and they can distribute to the members of the TAC here. If that hasn't been done already, maybe it has. Secondly, I did have a question. You know, the county, by county does an annual HERF report that we submit to the state. Does that get converted into the public miles?
Hi, Dan. It is used in order to validate the public
Okay.
miles.
Okay.
Last year, we kind of started to incorporate those HERF reports. Or sorry, maybe it was 2 years ago. Sorry. Regardless, we started to include those as a way to differentiate between public and private roads and make sure that we're aligning with the number of miles per agency. So we'll be doing that again this year. We'll be contacting all the agencies to request those reports.
Okay, all right. I think we're mandated to do ours every year because that's what we use to justify our funding that we get for HERF. So it's important to us. What I was going to say is, here in Yavapai County, I don't know if it's as much of an issue with the local jurisdiction, the incorporated communities, but we have hundreds of miles, maybe even over 1,000 miles of road in this county that has never been brought up to a minimum county standard or never was even constructed, but yet there's platted right-of-way associated with it from 50s, 60s, probably even 70s. Technically it's open to the public via platted right-of-way or easements or something like that, but it's not something the county maintains. Do you guys have an opinion as to whether that would or should or shouldn't be counted? Because I know you have your criteria about passenger car, but that's also subjective, depending on what kind of passenger car and what its clearance is and things like that. And I'm probably a proponent of not including those, but then again, I understand it comes into play with your funding and whatnot that comes into the state. So thoughts?
Yeah, so all of those certified public mileage rules are actually FHWA rules. So those come down from them to us. That said, what Lucas showed here, it does give you the option to tell us why you think they should not be included. And there's a number of reasons there that they couldn't be. And I guess as long as they are truly private roads that aren't accessible, and you know, you can justify that and tell us that, you know, with one of these reasons, then, you know, we wouldn't have a reason to argue with you, that's for sure.
Yeah, okay. That's about what I expected. I appreciate that. And thank you for your thoughts on it. Any other questions from other members of CYMPO?
I did have a quick question for Lucas based on that demonstration on AZGeo. Just for clarification, so if I can be any old Lucas Murray in the state or anywhere in the world requesting access and then suggesting a change, I assume there's a process where you guys approve that change. It's not just, you know, put in and then approved by any old Lucas Murray.
That's correct. There, as you saw with that list of people that would be emailed, every single person would be able to see that. There were people on the list that are local to the agencies. So it's not just ADOT or FHWA looking at it. It would be the local agencies that would also have to sign off and say, yeah, this is okay to go. So you're right. Anybody can technically suggest a change. That doesn't mean it's going to become official.
Yeah, good point, Lindsay. Thank you. Anything further from anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I can for a moment.
Yes, Vinny.
Just really want to acknowledge Sage and the whole team. Truly appreciate it. The training for the last couple of days was very valuable, very in-depth, lots of support. Each MPO and COG throughout Arizona does it a little bit differently. So, you know, we just have a really good partnership in us, you know, just being efficient in what we do in CYMPO. And I want to take this moment though to affirm and acknowledge it, that the MPOs do have a responsibility to monitor, to collect, to gather this information. Most often you see it generated through the regional transportation plan, this data, the specific information. What we've done in order to be efficient though, is we've worked with each of our partner agencies, the county, the towns, the city, in your normal collecting of traffic data, that checks the box for CYMPO. And so I don't know that we've ever taken the time to really talk it through. It's just been the partnership that we had. And that's very valuable when you look at, we're a small staff, we're busy, and thanks to your partnership, Lindsay's not out there counting vehicles today. You know, she's doing other projects, and staff that you have that is counting vehicles through whatever means you have, either through staff time or technology or infrastructure, we incorporate that. And that's so critical to this conversation. All that to say is that it works. Let's keep doing it and know that these resources are available to you. And we hope that it's mutually beneficial to everyone involved as you collect data. And I think that was my takeaway, Sage, yesterday was, you know, let's be sure this exchange of data, we recognize it and it's helping everyone involved. And some of these tools that have been created are directly to your benefit. I think Dan brings up one great point we talked about the last few days was, again, this translates into other dollars, HERF and other things. So, you know, let's be sure we're on top of it. And just, you know, kudos to everybody and how we're approaching it. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Vinny.
Thanks.
You bet, Sage. Thanks for being here. Anything further from anyone else? All right. Greatly appreciate the information, the short presentation, and hope you all have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for coming.
You bet. We'll move on to item 12, federal and state updates. I don't see Mark on the call. Is anybody speaking for Mark from ADOT?
I don't think so. I don't see him either. He didn't mention anything that he wanted to go over while we were with him in the training. So
Okay, all right.
I guess that's a no.
Very good. Appreciate that. We'll move on to the ADOT Northwest District Office Report. Andy, you want to share any updates with us?
Sure, got a few things. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the first one, actually, as of yesterday, we received actually 3 HSIP eligibility letters for 3 projects. All of these will be fiscal year 24 design. The first 2 will be fiscal year 25 construction, and the last one will be a fiscal year 26 construction. So first project, State Route 69, Lee Boulevard to Walker Road, the raised median acceleration lane extension there at Costco. Second one, State Route 89, milepost 339 to 337 southbound passing lane. That's actually in the area of Big Chino to Bramble. The third one, State Route 89, milepost 349 to 351 northbound passing lane. And that's up near the Drake intersection. For our projects in construction, our I-17 broadband project, I would say we'll probably pretty much close that one out. All the system acceptance testing has been completed. And really the only thing left to do out there is to replace a few traffic counter loop detectors that got cut while we were doing the in-shoulder trenching. Our 3 projects for ARACFC on 69 Big Bug 4 to Poland Junction, 89A from 89 to Glasford Hill Road, and then 89A from Glasford Hill Road to Coyote Springs Road. All 3 of those still in winter shutdown, waiting for better pavement temperatures, but hopefully we'll get started up here in the summer on those ones to finish those ones out. Our I-17 Sunset Point rest area, still progressing along. All of our underground work is complete. They're doing the ADEQ testing on the water and sewer installations. The water tank rehab is underway. Interior masonry is completed, and our HVAC, electrical, and plumbing rough-ins are underway in the for the vending areas and the restroom building, and hopefully paving the parking lot sometime here in April coming up. The I-17 at 1169 TI deck replacement project, we just had the partnering meeting with our contractor on that one. Should start work here in April on that project. And then for our projects in design, the 69 Truewood Drive to Stone Ridge Drive pavement rehab project. Bids opened on that one on February 10th. And our parent low bidder is Paveco Incorporated, actually about 14.8% under our department estimate. And so that should hopefully go to award here this month. And then our 69 Prescott Lakes Parkway to Frontier Village, the widening and raised median. Utility relocations are still ongoing in there, CenturyLink, Unisource, and Sparklight. We anticipate our stage 5, which is our 95 or 100% submittal here in March, end of March, and hopefully bid advertise in April. Centerline Rumble Strips project on State Route 169 from Grant Woods Parkway to I-17. We're anticipating final 100% plans here in March with a bid advertisement in fourth quarter of fiscal year 23. Centerline Rumble Strips on State Route 89 from Paulden to Ash Fork. Anticipate our 95% submittal here in March with a bid advertisement in fourth quarter of fiscal year 23 as well. The 69 at 169 roundabout. Looking at our stage 3 60% submittal here in June coming up, and then hopefully bid advertisement in third quarter of fiscal year 24. And the last one, the left turn, northbound left turn lane at, on State Route 89 at Little Ranch Road. We're anticipating our 30% submittal here in April with a bid advertisement, hopefully fourth quarter of fiscal year 24. And that's the extent of my report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that very much. Any questions for Andy on updates? All right, wonderful. Thank you. And lastly, ADOT Multimodal Planning Division update from Myrna.
Good afternoon. Mr. Chair, I will be brief with my updates today, as I always try to be brief. ADOT held our first public meeting on the Long Range Transportation Plan, February 28th. Thank you, Vinny, for attending. He braved the drive. There will also be another public meeting that will be held in Flagstaff, closer to Prescott, at the Flagstaff Aquaplex from 5:30 to 7. And if you really want to attend and you haven't been able to attend it in person, you can join a virtual meeting the very next day from 6 to 7:30. All of this information is posted on the ADOT Long Range Transportation Plan website at adot2050plan.com. My next item is, as Vinny mentioned earlier, the ADOT tentative 2024 to 28 5-year construction program is posted in the ADOT website. And I'll post that in a little bit too. And comments will be accepted until June 1st of 2023 at 5 p.m. And my last item, I haven't actually provided an update on this in a while. It's on the rest area study. So the draft final plan has been submitted and will be posted on yet another project website from March 6th to 23rd for public comment. As a related project, there's another project, a truck parking plan that's coming up. And the purpose of that project is develop an implementation plan that can be used to identify and prioritize parking lot locations mainly for trucks. And that includes the rest area expansions that were identified in the rest area study. We'll also be identifying overflow lots and truck parking only locations along ADOT facilities that could possibly provide some relief. And that will be that's scheduled to start in the next few months. That concludes my updates. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Myrna. Any questions for Myrna? Everybody's fading at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate the information and the update from you. Any further items that need discussion before I take the next step? Hearing none, a reminder, as Vinny had said earlier, we've got a March 17th State Transportation Board meeting at 9 a.m. at the town of Prescott Valley. I would encourage all of you to try and attend if you can. It's not very often that many of the member agencies get to these things. And so I think Roger McCormick and I and my office are going to try to be there. And then next executive board meeting is out of Dewey Humboldt on March 15th at 3 p.m. So I will not be at that meeting. I apologize, but I will be camping at that point, but I promise I'll make it back for the State Transportation Board meeting. So anyway, one last chance to say anything. If not, this meeting is adjourned.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, John.
Hey, Andy, who's the contractor for the bridge replacement, deck replacement? Did I catch you say that or no?
No, I did not actually remember you. That is CYMPO Construction Incorporated.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's all.
All right. Frank says nothing. Mike's not working, but thanks, Frank. We appreciate the update, and this meeting is adjourned. So hope everybody has a good weekend. Hopefully it warms up and the snow disappears quickly soon. See you all. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.